Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Alejandra Castillo. I go by Alex, and I'm the Senior Associate of Career Pathways for Tech at dream.org. I will be getting us started today by going over our objective and agenda. So for today's topic, it is the AI advantage. So we are going to be learning how to use AI to help enhance and/or create resumes, cover letters, and questions to prepare you for an interview. If you would like to follow along, you are welcome to pull up a job post of interest and your resume as well. This completely is optional though. We will be recording this and sending this out to everyone. So you are welcome to attempt all of this later at your own pace. Do know that if you need extra help, we will also be having office hours available to all of y'all. There will be more information about this coming soon. Now, let's go over the agenda. I'm currently doing the intro and welcome, and soon after, we will introduce our mighty tech team. I will be spending some time going over what a large language model is and understanding how you can use it. Then I will tag in Emmanuel Mama, who is our resident ChatGPT expert at dream.org, who will be demoing the following prompt examples. So for your resume, cover letter, and interview prep. He will also be recapping the information for us and sharing resources as well. Then we will go into a few minutes of Q&A and hear some closing remarks from the amazing Tasha Lawrence. Does that all sound great? Everybody ready? Please be sure that you are muted, and we encourage having your camera on as possible. All right, let's get into it. Next slide, please. All right, so this is our small but mighty team. We work together to break down barriers and provide underrepresented communities with opportunities, trainings, and tools they need to become trailblazers in evolving sectors like tech and climate. So Kashif Wizard is our national director, also known as our fearless leader. Then we have Michael Bernarding, who is our senior manager of tech entrepreneurship. You guys already know me, so I'll go ahead and pass it to Tasha, who then will introduce Emmanuel. Go ahead, Tasha.
Hi, everyone. I am the Special Projects and Operation Managers, and I am the catch-all person. So thank you guys for joining us, and I will pass it over to you, Emmanuel.
Hey guys, my name is Emmanuel. I am the digital campaigner. I work really closely on our engagement team at dream.org, but work really closely with the tech team. And I'm excited to be showing some great prompts and some great ways you can improve your resume and cover letter today. So thanks for joining us.
Awesome. All right. So thank you guys for introducing yourselves. Now let's go ahead and start with understanding ChatGPT. So I'm sure everyone has heard of ChatGPT in the last year, as it has become very, very popular. So popular that companies have adapted it so quickly into their daily operations. So ChatGPT is a powerful large language model developed by OpenAI. So it uses machine learning to generate human-like text based on prompts or instructions given to it. It is an AI tool that has a wide range of applications, from drafting emails, writing articles, to creating conversational agents and more. It's like having an assistant at your fingertips, ready whenever to help you with your writing tasks. Next slide, please. As you are having a conversation with ChatGPT Assistant, the instructions or questions you provide are called prompts. So the prompt guides the AI in generating its responses. They are like steering the wheel, directing the course of the conversation. So the quality of output is directly linked to the quality of the prompts given. The more information you provide, the better results you will receive. Next slide, please. Now, one of its most powerful features is its ability to understand context. So it can analyze what you are inputting, recognize its meaning and purpose, and generate responses that align with what you are inputting. In job searching, this feature is super helpful. For example, when creating a resume, ChatGPT can comprehend the degrees of a job description and offer recommendations on what to include in your resume. This is what Emmanuel will actually be covering today. If you can, we encourage you to follow along with us. All the prompts we'll be using today can actually be found in our professional development prompt library, which we will link in our chat. Next slide, please. Now, before we get into the prompts, I wanted to ensure that we covered the limitations and responsible use of AI. So think of ChatGPT as your writer. It doesn't always provide quality responses. Know that. So as the user, consider editor. So you are guiding and refining ChatGPT's output. You are not just correcting for grammar or coherence, but ensuring that the content is actually factual, relevant, and in line with the intended purpose. So always proofread the ChatGPT's output. And also ensure that your personal touch is there. So AI cannot replace authenticity, enthusiasm, interpersonal skills, crucial for a successful job search. AI is a helpful tool, but not the sole strategy. Next slide, please. Now, for today's demonstration, we will be using the free version of ChatGPT 3.5, but there are others out there that can be used as well. So we have OpenAI's ChatGPT 4, and also known as ChatGPT Plus, Google's Bard, Microsoft's Bing AI, or Anthropic's Claude 2. But of these, OpenAI's ChatGPT 4 is considered to be the best and the most intelligent. So we encourage you to use and become familiar with as many as you can, as they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. Now, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Emmanuel, who will get the demo started. Take it away, Emmanuel.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to go over some prompts that you can use to improve your resume. And I'm going to be showing guys like a live demonstration of this too, so you can see exactly how to use this platform. If you do want to follow along, can folks still see my screen here? You can see my resume, the thumbs up, cool. So yeah, so I'll be, I don't know why it's doing that. I'll be providing a live demonstration. But yeah, if you want to follow along, make an account at OpenAI's ChatGPT. It's really quick, really simple. You can use your Google to do so, your Google account to do so. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So two of the main strengths that, or the primary strength I think that ChatGPT has in aiding and accelerating your job searches is being able to tailor your resume and your cover letters, which we'll talk about a little bit later, for a specific job description. So as a general practice, whenever you're applying for jobs, you want to read the description and then extrapolate the key responsibilities and highlight those strengths within your resume, right? Anywhere that, cover letter says 2 years of managerial experience, you want to make sure that your managerial experience is at the very top of that. And so, it takes time to read the description and then go into your resume and make those changes. ChatGPT can be used to really automate and speed up this process so you can apply for more jobs in the same amount of time. So let's take a look at our first prompt. This prompt will tailor your resume to a specific job description, right? So we're going to use a couple techniques here, which I'll lightly touch on. If you tell ChatGPT to take on a persona or a role, it'll actually improve the quality of their responses that align with that role. So if you're having it work on resumes, you have it take on the persona of an expert resume writer with 20 years of experience. Yes, these prompts will be shared. So I actually have a prompt library, which I can kind of show folks right now. So it'll be on our, oh my gosh, it'll be on our Notion, our tech resource wiki, which I will, sorry, I'm working off of my PC today, not my Mac, which all this stuff is logged into. Okay, while that is pulling up, seems to be taking a while, we'll go back into the presentation. So we'll take this first prompt here. You're an expert resume writer with 20 years of experience. Remember, Giving that role will help it increase the quality of responses. And what we're going to do is highlight the three most important responsibilities within the job description that we're applying for. And then we're going to copy the job description and paste it in this prompt. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to move into ChatGPT. This is your ChatGPT interface, right? So this is where you're able to ask it questions and start the conversation. So what we'll do here is we'll start by pasting our prompt. Can folks see it? Can folks see my screen okay?
We can see the presentation, not the ChatGPT.
Gotcha. Let's do this here. All right. How about now? Can we see my desktop?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So going back to the presentation, we're going to copy the prompt. We're going to paste it into ChatGPT. And that's kind of a disclaimer. It's going to be a lot of copy and pasting. So Control-C, Control-V if you're on Windows. I think it's Command-C, Command-V if you're on Mac. But we have pasted this in our description. Now we're going to replace this section here, and I'll zoom in so folks can see. And I'm going to replace it with the job description. So I'm going to zoom out again, and I'm going to take our job description. So here, I'm a digital campaigner. Let's say this is a job that I wanted to apply for. This is at the Daily Coast. It's a kind of digital communications position. I'm going to copy this entire job description right here. Everything except for the benefits, because this isn't really relevant information that ChatGPT can use to write or use for this prompt. I'm going to paste it right here. So again, we're taking the prompt, we're copying it, pasting it into the window, and then where it says to replace this with the job description, I'm going to copy my entire job description and paste it right here. I'm going to hit enter, and now it's going to read the job description and generate a response. So upon reading the job description, it is found that the three most important responsibilities within this job description are organizing multi-partner activism campaigns, content creation and communication, and campaign strategy development, right? Now, this is accurate. We know this is accurate because if you scroll up here in the responsibilities, it has this information. Now, part of the reason why we did this is because getting ChatGPT to write out this information stores it in kind of its memory, right? So now it has this information on deck. It's within what's called the context window, and it will be able to, this will help improve the quality of the subsequent response. So we're going to take a look at our second prompt. Based on these key responsibilities, how would you tailor my resume for this job posting to maximize my chances of getting this job? Here's my resume. We're going to paste our resume here. Be specific and list out exactly what you would change to tailor my resume. Be sure to tell me why each change would make my resume better suited for this job. Do not make information up. Now, this last part is really important. The reason why is because ChatGPT is prompted to what's known as called hallucinations. So sometimes it can make up information, and that's why it's really important that you treat this interaction with you and ChatGPT as that of a writer and an editor, right? The writer creates the content, but the editor is the one reading the fine details and making sure that it is accurate and represents the organization, right? So here's the prompt. I just pasted it in my window, and now I'm going to select this part where it asks me to paste my resume. All right. And I'm going to select my entire resume, so copy, and I'm going to paste it right here. So what we've done is we've given it the job description. It's extracted the three key responsibilities and is kind of, extrapolated why. And now we're going to tailor our resume specifically for this job description. So I'm going to hit enter. And ChatGPT is going to generate different things that I can incorporate into my resume. I can choose to incorporate into my resume that would tailor it more to this job description. Not only is it going to give me those suggestions, it's going to give me a revised version of the sections that it thinks that I should revise. So here it's saying I should revise my summary to emphasize my dedication and experience in fostering growth in communities through digital platforms. I can mention my experience in organizing and leading initiatives similar to the responsibilities of a digital campaigner. And so it's giving me a revised version of my summary, which I can then copy and I can paste into my resume right here for the summary section if I wanted to, and then make changes to it as needed. It does this for the rest of my resume too. So as we can see, it's also giving me suggestions to reorder my experience section, right? So I can move my current role as Dream.org Tech to the very top of my experience section, since it's the most relevant experience on my resume to the job description that I'm applying for. Another tip that it's given me is to revise my skills experience and to update my skills section to include specific tools or platforms that are relevant to the job description. And so it's taken some of these things that it recognizes, right? ChatGPT understands what a CRM is, Salesforce Action Kit. What if folks aren't familiar with the CRM, it's basically a platform that can be used to track relationships with different companies or members. A lot of the emails that we send out are actually through our Action Kit CRM. It's also told me to update my education section and consider maybe removing my interest section to save some space on my resume. And so I can take these changes after reading them, of course, and making sure that the information is good, and paste it directly into my resume, and then make minor changes as needed. So that's just one, an example of a prompt that you can use to customize your resume. Now I'm trying to log into Notion. Here we are. So if folks can still see my screen, this is going to be our prompt library. I'm going to drop the link to this in our chat right now. But all the prompts that we discussed today are going to be found here. So you can go to this website. I'll drop it here in the chat. And you can access our prompt library there. So the prompts that we just used are right here. Step 1, step 2. So let's take a look at some more prompts. This ChatGPT can also be used to improve your bullet points on your resume. So what we're using here is what's called the STAR method. It's a structured manner of responding to interview questions by discussing, the acronym. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So you set the scene with the situation, you describe what your responsibility was in that situation, you explain the steps that you took to address it, and you share the outcomes of the action you achieved. And so this is a general guideline that you can use within interviews to make it really clear for the interviewee or the person who's interviewing you, the interviewer, that what you did in a particular scenario, the steps that you took, and most importantly, the metrics that your actions produced, right? The tangible results of your actions. So we're going to take this. We're actually going to apply it to our resume with ChatGPT through a different prompt, another prompt. So again, if we take a look at that first part, we're having it take on the role of an expert resume writer with 20 years of experience. We're giving it some notes about a previous position. And then we're having it explain the STAR method. And then we're having it make changes to our bullet points based off of this method. So I'm going to actually take it from here. Here are the notes for the prompts that I'm producing, but we're going to do the same exact thing that we did before. So we're going to start by copying the prompt. We'll actually take it from the prompt library since it's all here, same stuff. We're going to copy the prompt. We're going to go into ChatGPT. We're going to start a new chat. And where it says to insert my notes, we are going to put our notes right here. So here are my notes. And these are just bullet points, right? Here, so this is what you might put in this section, right? You worked at a boot camp. Maybe you were a mentor for the students in the boot camp, and you met with students weekly to solve technical issues to help them fix their mental models. You also help with non-technical issues such as job search and interview preparation, and you generally gave advice on how to proceed in the industry, right? Now, notice that this is not very organized, right? And this is not very the language isn't necessarily the most flashy, but that's one of the beautiful things about ChatGPT is because you can just kind of throw things at it, and it'll basically make it make sense, right? Clarify it and add some of that more professional language, right? I wouldn't put this on a resume that I was a mentor for students in the boot camp. So what ChatGPT can do is really interpret that and put a professional twist on it. It's an expert writer, essentially. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And so now it's going to explain the STAR method. Again, this kind of just puts it in its brain, right? For lack of better words, it occupies the context window. And so now it has a better understanding for its subsequent response. And so it's going to give me feedback. The purpose of this prompt is to give me feedback on my notes and then rewrite my bullet points to make them sound better, essentially. So let's take a look at the notes here. Your notes provide a general description of the boot camp, but it lacks specific context about the challenges or opportunities you encounter, right? And these notes are all framed with the context of the STAR method, right? So essentially, after, it will say, while you mention your role as a mentor and helping students, it would be helpful to specify some of the tasks or goals you had within these areas. So as you can see, it's giving me active feedback that I can use to improve my bullet points, and then gives me examples on how I might rephrase my bullet points to make them sound better, right? So here it's saying I collaborated with students to identify technical challenges, providing tailored solutions and clarifying complex concepts to enhance their learning. I assisted students with non-technical aspects of their career, including job search strategies, resume optimization, and interview preparation. I also offered valuable industry insights and guidance on career progression, resulting in improved career prospects for mentored students. So I can take these bullet points, right? This is essentially what I gave it, the notes that I gave it originally, but just better sounding, right? And more clear. So here's just one example, like another example of a prompt that you can use to make your resume sound better. And again, this can be found in our prompt library. Literally copy, paste, replace the sections with your information, and have ChatGPT do the rest. Cool. So I'm going to kind of take a break there. No, that was a lot of information. But if you're following along, if you have any questions, now's the time to let me know. If we don't have any questions, I'll go ahead and move on, but just wanted to take a break here and answer any questions you guys might have. And feel free to raise your hand or come off mute. Cool.
I have a question.
Okay.
This is Tasha. So the prompts that you included would you be able to use that with each different type of chat GPT, or is just for the 3.5?
That's a really great question, Tasha. Yes, so I'll share my screen again. Now, remember, we talked about earlier in the presentation that there are different language models that we can use, is what Tasha is referring to. Now, ChatGPT 3.5 is the model that I'm using. The reason why I'm using that today is because it's free, right? You go make a Google account, or if you already have one, you can start using this today, right now. The prompts are built in such a way to even leverage, GPT 3.5, but the quality of your responses will increase if you were to say, use the paid version of ChatGPT Plus or 4. So, I have access to 4, and the quality of the responses will be better if I were to use this. But I wanted to show 3.5 for everyone today because it's free, and you can access this right now without a credit card or anything like that.
Hi, this is Angela. I have a question.
Yes. Hey, Angela.
Hi. I was wondering in terms of the resume, I used Canva design to put my resume together. Would that make
Mhm.
a difference as I'm doing a search, or would it be easier for me to have a more basic unformatted method for my resume when I use it for chat?
That's an excellent question. Yeah. So I'll pull up mine right here. Um, but the short answer to that question is yes. Like it doesn't as long as the beauty of ChatGPT too is that it understands text, right? Just raw text. So as long as your resume, you can just copy and paste stuff from it, then you should be able to give it to ChatGPT and analyze it. So, like for example, I'm just going to copy my entire resume and just ask what it thinks about it, right? Um, and so it'll be able to read my resume. And so whether it's in Canva, whether it's a PDF or a Google Doc, ChatGPT should be able to interpret it. I would say if it's in Canva, you might have like different text boxes that you may need to like copy one section of the resume, paste it, and then copy another section of the resume and paste it. So
Yes.
that part might get tedious. In that case, I'd recommend exporting it as a PDF, and that should allow you to select all of the text within your resume, copy it, and
Hmm.
then paste it into ChatGPT.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, cool. So let's go ahead and move on to the next section. ChatGPT to generate cover letters. So we just touched on using it for resumes and personalizing resume based off of a cover letter, off of a job description, a job that you're applying for. But you can also use it to generate cover letters. We'll take a look at what that looks like. So this technique or this prompt is actually consists of three separate prompts that are used kind of in succession. So the first one is going to go ahead and it keeps moving my desktop. The first prompt is going to read a job description and extract the three biggest challenges that it thinks somebody would face in this job day to day. And not only is it going to do this, it's going to try to give us the root causes of these issues, right? And we'll see why this is important in a second. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this and then go back to ChatGPT, start a new conversation, right? I'm going to paste my prompt and then I'm going to replace this job description section with the description of the job I'm applying for. So I'm going to grab that. Here's the job description. I'm just going to copy it again. I'm going to leave out any information that's not, required. So I'm just going to stop at the qualifications and copy that. And then I'm going to paste it right here. I'm going to hit enter. And so it's going to give me what it thinks are the three biggest issues, the challenges that somebody might encounter as a digital campaigner for this job. And it's going to give me the root cause of these issues. Now that it's queued up and it's in its memory, we're going to use our second prompt, which is to write a hook for this cover letter. So I'm going to read through this prompt. It's a little bit longer, but we're asking it to write a short, attention-grabbing hook. And that's the thing with ChatGPT, right? It's the quality of the prompts that you give it determines the quality of the output it produces. So you got to be really specific, right? If you think about it, like on a gradient from like writing code to just speaking to somebody, right? When you're giving instructions, if you're writing code, if even one point is out of place, the whole thing won't compile, right? So this is that to a lesser extent. If you want it to write a cover letter, you can just tell it to write a cover letter, or you can tell it to write an intention grabbing cover letter that shows that you emphasize and you can successfully take on the challenges of the job that you're applying for, right? So the quality of basically how specific you are will determine how specific it is when generating a response. Um, so we're going to ask it to generate three different versions of this hook. Each hook should cover three things: who I am, what I want, and what I believe in. Be sure to explore creative ways to express my enthusiasm for the opportunity. Keep each hook within 100 words. Use any useful information from the About Us section of the organization I'm applying for to show initiative and a deep understanding of this organization's mission. Without saying it explicitly, imply that my values align with that of this organization. Do not mention the job description specifically in a sentence that describes the alignment, and do not fabricate aspects of my identity or otherwise make things up. So this last part is going to keep it from hallucinating. So we're going to copy this prompt. We're going to paste it into our chat, and we're going to fill in the blanks, right? So the role that I'm applying for is the title of the role, digital campaigner. The company that I'm applying for is the Daily Post. It wants context from the About Me section of the company that I'm applying for. So here's the job description for the job I'm applying for. I'm going to look up the Daily Post. And every company, right, should have an About Me section. It's typically at the very bottom of the website. So About Us. And so this information, we're giving it to ChatGPT. If it's a big company, ChatGPT should already know, right? If it's a Google, Amazon, it already knows about those companies and what their mission statements are, what their core goals are. But if it's something a little lesser known, it doesn't hurt to give it, additional context as to the company that you're applying for to make your cover letter better. So we're going to copy all of this information here, and we're going to insert it right here where it says to give it context from the About Me section. And then that should be it. So recapping what we're doing, we gave it a job description. We've asked it to extract the 3 biggest challenges that somebody in this role would face. And then we're asking it to write 3 different versions of a hook that we can use for our cover letter. And it's going to be using some additional context about the company to do this. I'm going to hit enter. And it's given me 3 versions. So I'm going to read these. Now for this, I would recommend using like the second half of this. I would really recommend just using like the first 2 sentences as a hook, right? For the companies that you're applying for, they're going to see tons of cover letters, right? You want yours to stand out. And one of the ways that you can do that is really by making the hook the best that you can. So I'll read the first one. As a passionate advocate for progressive change, I firmly believe that the Daily Coast is the beating heart of the movement we need in today's world, right? Having closely followed the Daily Coast and its unwavering commitment to progressive values, I'm excited to align my passion and skills with an organization that speaks my language. Daily Coast embodies a spirit of progressive activism, and accountability that I hold dear. Now, let's say that you don't like these. I like the first one personally, but it won't generate the same thing twice. So I can start this whole conversation again, or do a shortcut here, which will do the same thing essentially. But it'll generate these hooks for my cover letter, which I can use to put in my use for the next prompt. But let's say that you don't like these, you want to make minor changes. Let's say, I want these to be, a bit more straightforward. You can just have a conversation with it and ask it to do that, right? Any feedback or changes that you would like for it to make, you can just write that in the chat. So I like the first one, but can you make it a bit more straightforward? And so it has made an edit. And now, okay, so let's say I like this one, right? I can move on to the next prompt, which will complete the cover letter. So what this is going to do is use our job description. It's going to use the hook that we just generated here. And it's going to use our resume to generate a full cover letter, which I can then move into a document, make changes, and then I have a customized resume and a customized cover letter specifically for the job that I'm applying for. I can just hit send on that application. Of course, after you make changes and make sure that the information is accurate. Remember, writer-editor relationship. So we're going to do that here. I'm going to take the hook that we've generated. I actually prefer to do this in a new chat, this last prompt, and this instruction is actually here in the prompt library. For Brian, I'll drop the link to the prompt library again, but you won't need the slides because all the prompts can be found here. But yes, so we're going to go ahead and take our prompt. We're going to start a new chat. You're going to get the job description. That's the first thing it's asking for. So we'll grab that here. Let me actually do this. So here's the job description. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it right here. Now it's asking for the hook that we just generated. I might have to do some fancy stuff. The reason behind the new chat session, that's a really good question, Ray. I won't go super into the weeds, but essentially it has a context window, right? So it's basically a short-term memory, but it is the context window is basically all the text of the conversation. So it's not just what you send to it, but it's its responses too. All of that occupies its short-term memory. And when you send a new message, it interprets everything from the conversation previously plus your new message, if that makes sense. The problem is there's a fixed size on this context window. And so let's say it's 4,000 characters, right? That's the size of the context window. The longer the conversation goes, once I hit 4,000 characters, it's going to start cutting information from the beginning of the conversation, right? And so what will then happen is it'll start to forget things, right? If I put at the very top that my bike is green and yellow, right? And it exceeds 4,000 characters. If I ask it, what color is my bike again, it may not remember that because that information was cut out of its context window. So I'm starting a new chat because I've given it a lot of information to work with. And so by starting a new chat, I can still, because it takes, this prompt uses a job description, the hook that we just generated in the resume, it doesn't need all that previous information anymore. It just needs these three things to generate my cover letter. So that's why I like to start a new chat. Great question, Ray. So yes, I'm going to paste the okay. So we pasted the job description. Now I'm going to paste the hook that I previously generated. So I'm going to do this here. I'm a passionate advocate for progressive change who believes in the power of grassroots activism. I just like that first part. So I'm going to take just that first part. I'm going to start there. But if I wanted to, I could combine this. So let's say here, the opportunity to contribute to your mission as a digital campaigner resonates with my desire to empower activists and engage our community effectively. I think that's really good. So I'm going to take that too, and I'm going to add that to my hook, right? So reading through this prompt, you give it the job description, you give it the hook, what you have so far, and you tell it to finish writing the cover letter. And then we give it our resume. I'm going to remove this here, actually. So now, for the last step, I'm going to give it my resume, which is right here. I'm going to paste it, and we're going to hit enter. And now it's generating my cover letter. So I can read through this, can copy this, move this into a document, make whatever changes that I want to make, right? What this is doing is it's using my hook, and then it's using my resume, and it's writing why, based off of my resume, I'm a good fit for this job description. It's taking parts from my resume. It's looking at the job description and saying, this person is a good fit because they've done this before. They have, developed campaigns, which is listed, if we remember, which is one of the responsibilities within the job description, to generate content. And so it's using all of that to finish my cover letter. Now, I can use this as my first draft, but I've saved a ton of time, right? Instead of writing all of this from scratch, right? I can apply for maybe 5 jobs today instead of just 4, just by using ChatGPT. So that's the power here. But ChatGPT can also be used to, well, I'll stop there. Do we have any questions before I move on to our last section? I know there's a lot of information. Again, I'll drop the link to our prompt library one more time, but you can access all the content that we're going through today right there. Cool. If we don't have any more questions, then I will share my screen again, and we'll go over the last section of this presentation, which is using ChatGPT to prepare for interviews. So you've applied for the job, they've reached out, they've said, hey, we want to interview. You can also use this platform to generate questions that you might encounter within the job description and help you formulate answers, potential answers based off of your experience. So you can do all of this beforehand. So when you go into the resume, you know what you're going to say, you know how you're going to say it. You can have notes ready for you. So this prompt is going to generate 10 interview questions based off of any job description that I give it. So we're going to copy this here. I need to stop swiping between desktops. It's like a force of habit. Okay. So we're going to take the job description. Close that here. I'm going to start a new chat. If we put all of the same prompts for the same job description, how will we prevent having the same results to someone else? That's a really, really good question. So there's 2 answers to that. The first one is ChatGPT. I won't explain the technical pieces, but it will not always generate, it won't generate the same answer every time. There is an aspect of randomness to it. So anytime it generates a new word, it's basically accessing all of the potential words that it knows, and then assigning a percentage, a likelihood that it'll select that. So if it says, I am going to the, right, it could be store, it could be to party, it could be any of those things, but depending on the context that you give it, the instructions that you give it, it'll assign a probability to those words. Now it might pick store, grocery store, it'll essentially generate pick random words in a sequence. If that makes sense, I know I'm not really explaining it that well, but it won't generate the same result to someone else, at least not verbatim. And the second answer, part of that answer to your question, is that we're using our own resume, right? We're using our own resume, we're using our own information, our own context. And so just by virtue of that alone, your prompts will be fundamentally different from someone else's. But moving on, we're going to go ahead and hopefully that answers your question, Ortha, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But we're going to give it our job description. And it's going to generate 10 common interview questions. Now remember, ChatGPT 3.5, these prompts are made to work with it. It's a little bit dumber than 4. But if you do use 4, you'll have better results. So it's going to, remember, we asked it to take on the persona of the hiring manager for this position, right? And so it's generating 10 common interview questions. My internet's a little slow, so it's taking a while. But here are my 10 interview questions. I'm going to read through some of these. Given the importance of writing in this role, now let's use, these are all good questions. I want to find one that's a good example. Can you tell me about my previous experience? Well, let's do, oh yeah, this is a good one. So, I'm going to be needing to track data, and analyze that data and report on that data. Can I provide an example of a project where I've utilized these skills to drive campaign success? So let's say that's the one that I feel like I could get, and if I do get it, I probably want to prepare a little bit. So we're going to use our next prompt, which is I'm preparing for an interview. I'll share the job description. The interview is going to ask me this question, and we're going to give it the question from earlier. We're going to ask it to list out the reasons why I'm getting this question, and then give 3 tips on how to structure an answer. So I won't show this one, but this is an example of like, okay, now I have my 20 questions or so. I'm going to read through these and practice responses to them. And anything that I might need additional help with, I can use this prompt to generate tips on how I can respond to that question. The following prompt is going to touch on, or is going to use the interview question that I give it. So the question from earlier, maybe a different one. And it's going to use my resume and use my experience to generate a potential answer to this question using what's called the CARL framework, which is context, action, results, and learning. So this is similar to the STAR method. It's another way that you can, use a framework that you can use to respond to interviews or questions within an interview. But this prompt will take your resume, take the question that you found, and use this framework to generate a potential response that you could give in an interview. For the sake of time, I won't show this one live, but again, this can be found in our prompt library that you can access at any time. Whew, I know that was a lot, so I'm going to stop there. And we're going to go ahead and go into Q&A. I'll pass it over to you, Tasha.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all that great information. If everybody enjoyed that information, please give Emmanuel hand claps, thumbs up. Great job. I know I was really, really interested in what all ChatGPT can do. I use 3.5 at times, sometimes 4. But yes, great information. If you all have any question, please, it's time to ask those questions. Don't be shy. You can put them in the chat. You can actually come off mute. And we would like to give you this time just in case you have any questions to be answered.
Hi, I have a question. So I did notice that occasionally in the I think it was the resume and the cover letter, there were some places where I think Emmanuel had made changes to them, the actual prompts, and I wonder if those would be updated in the library.
Yes, all of those changes will be made in the library. There was like a block of text that I had failed to remove prior to this presentation, which it wouldn't have done anything or wouldn't have changed the output. But yes, thank you for noticing that. And those changes will be made to the prompt library.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
That was a great question. Are there any more questions? And if you have a question, please don't be shy. I'm pretty sure someone else also may have the same question. So take this time and let's answer the questions.
This isn't necessarily a question, but just as a general tip, a question that I get sometimes is like, is ChatGPT 4 really worth it? It's like $20 a month. Yes, it is definitely worth it, especially if you are applying for a lot of jobs. It's not uncommon, if you're coming from software development, especially the state of the tech industry right now, to be applying to like 50 jobs a week, right? And so, you can go through and create a cover letter and customize your resume for every single of those job descriptions, where you can really speed up the process with ChatGPT. And 4 is, I think, a lot better than 3.5. Since 4 came out, I have not used 3.5 at all. And I think it's 100% worth it. There's a question in the chat, the person trying to log into ChatGPT. I would say just try to make a new account. Unless you have any chats that you really need to access, I would reach out to OpenAI through their support on their website and try to do things that way. But otherwise, I would just make a new account. Giovanni is asking how to edit things back into your own voice. This is a really excellent question. So the prompts that we discussed today, well, first thing is recruiters will definitely be able to see if you're just generically using ChatGPT, right? They get a ton of these applications where it's like copy paste, copy paste. If you ask ChatGPT to write me a cover letter and that's all you have in your prompt, it'll write a very similar sounding cover letter to somebody else, right? So the reason why we've given it our resume, we've given it additional context, is to kind of circumvent this. Another way that you can circumvent this is by using a more powerful model like GPT-4, but also going in and making your own changes. Remember, you are the editor, ChatGPT is the writer. So you need to go in and make changes so that it does kind of sound in your own voice. One thing that you can also do, this is not a prompt that I've showed today, but you can give it previous things that you've written and say, change this to be more in the tone of the things that I've written. Remember, the quality of the prompt depends on the direction, the strength of the instruction that you give it, right? So if you've written a cover letter before and that was all you can paste that into ChatGPT, right? After you use the prompts that we just discussed, you can paste that into ChatGPT and say, this is my own writing. I'd like you to change the cover letter for this new job I'm applying for to be more in the tone of my personal writing, and it will do that as well. The people who can really use ChatGPT, you'll never be able to tell because they have perfected their prompting techniques so that it's indistinguishable from human written text. A lot of those like GPT-0 or like detectors they don't work because it's almost impossible to truly distinguish well-prompted text generated from ChatGPT from like originally written text. That is prompt engineering in a nutshell. And I don't really like the term prompt engineering because it sounds really fancy. All prompt engineering is being very, very specific. That's all it is, right? It's telling the computer exactly what you want. You want it written in this way or in this tone. You want it in this output. The more specific that you are, the better the output will be. And so, yes, it's essentially prompt engineering, Ray. And to answer your question, any tips and tools on automating? Since language models have been released, there have been a lot of cool developments. People creating agents, essentially, automated bots that use GPT-4 and its intelligence to do things automatically. I wouldn't, use any of those automation techniques for this purpose because you still want to maintain that, human touch, right? And so in order to do that, you kind of need to be involved in every step of the process from generating your cover letter to your resume. Because what you don't want to do is just say, write this thing for me, copy, paste, send. Write this thing for me, copy, paste, send, because recruiters will know, right? So like for the cover letter prompt, for example, the reason why we had to create that custom, that hook is because those hooks, the beginning of cover letters generated by ChatGPT sound very similar, right? And so we kind of circumvent that by first asking it to focus on the hook and then use that hook to generate the rest of the cover letter, right? But yes, hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. Well, we're getting close to the end of our time. So thank you. So before we close, we would like to invite you to take part of our event survey and tell us how we did. To fill out the survey, please scan the QR code shown on the screen and follow the link to our survey page. Please, we ask everyone here to please take this survey. It allows us to be able to keep doing what we're doing. Make sure we focus on what you're looking for and how you enjoy the interaction and the topic of this PD this month. So we'll give you a second to scan that code. Thank you. So just to recap, we talked about our AI, resume building, cover letters, interview question prompts, and all was very, very entertaining and very, very interesting. What we're trying to do is prep you for 2024. We're coming to the end of 2023. We always go into the new year with goals that we would like to accomplish. So if one of those goals that you want to accomplish is to be able to get that dream job, this PD was actually prep for you to go ahead and start preparing for it. We hope to see you again on our next PD. We thank each and every one of you for attending, and good luck on those dream jobs getting. So until then, safe holidays, safe new year, and we'll see you next year. Bye.
Yeah, and so everybody will receive an email. Yeah, so we're going to be sending out the recording through email. We're going to be sending out the resource guide through email as well, to the prompt library. I dropped it in the chat a couple of times. You can grab the link there if you want to start using these prompts today. Go ahead and scroll up in the chat and get the links there. Otherwise, we'll be sending it out through email next week. Tiandra, I see that your hand is raised. You can go ahead and come off mute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you again for giving us this presentation. It was very helpful. One question I did have is about like using ChatGPT to make the resume. We in class we use Quincia, and it makes us use GPT to make a resume or cover letter and then upload it to Quincia, and then it grades us. But my question is more so around like certificates. If ChatGPT, like, do you think that it's a good idea to use ChatGPT to input like certificates on your resume to make your resume stand out amongst other candidates?
Oh, 100%. We have a prompt for that.
Okay.
We didn't show it live, but essentially the star method prompt. So it'll be the second one. No, it'll be right here, the first prompt in our resource guide. This can be used to improve your bullet points. So let's say like you have those certifications in this section here where it says to put your notes. You can be like, I have CompTIA A plus, Network plus, Security plus, or any other certifications. You can just throw it there, right? It doesn't have to be organized in any real particular way. I find it's really helpful for just like you just dump your brain, right, and it'll basically formulate it in a way that really makes sense, and highlights your experience.
Okay.
So yeah, for those sections, you can do that, and then also for like a skill section too.
Yeah.
You can use it for that as well too. So you can literally like say, here are all of my certifications, compile that into a skill section, and then on top of that, I would give it your job description too, so it knows what skills to highlight in that section.
Okay. Thank you. Because I didn't know how I felt about like the certificates on my resume. They kind of look odd, but
Yeah.
if I can make it like look better with using ChatGPT, then I'm certainly open to doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and so I think during the beginning of the year, we will, I think, do like a workshop, like a live one too, so you can bring your stuff with you, and we'll work through it together. We also discussed, potentially using one-on-one sessions too, to help folks. And what that'll look like is just like a calendar, like you register for like 15 minutes on our calendar, or 20 minutes for us to work through the prompts together. So just keep an eye out for the follow-up email with that information, if you'd like to partake in that.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you.
No problem. Cool. Well, yeah, I think we're good to close out. If folks are still hanging around, please fill out the survey. I'll drop the link one more time.